when companies do employ people on the spectrum, they tend to do really, really well. So somebody explained it to me once, it's almost like a pizza. When you think about someone's interests and their aptitudes, right? And people are strong in one area or another. You know, they might be a former college basketball player like me. They might really like music but not be able to carry a tune. They might, you know, be, you know, a staffing industry executive or whatever. You have all kinds of different experience, and you know, some of it is deeper than others, right? But you're kind of fairly distributed. Someone with autism tends to be more concentrated in their expertise. So they might have 3 or 4 slices of that pizza where they're not that good. But they're going to have 3 or 4 slices of the pizza where they're really good.
And that's going to be their main focus.
And they're better than their peers. And that's the secret that a lot of people don't get. Now, that could be zoology, or that could be playing the violin, but it could also be, and in a lot of cases, it's technology. It's you know, creating video games, or it's programming, or it's engineering. So working with companies to help them support the areas where the individual maybe isn't quite as strong, and allow them to thrive in the areas where they are really strong, is a huge benefit to the businesses, not just to the individuals.
They have somebody that's fully focused, not distracted. They're full on exactly what they need to be.
They are, and they just perform better. They're more productive. They pick up skills faster. Retention is really high. So one of the things that businesses really struggle with millennials and Gen Z is turnover, right? How do I attract these workers, and how do I keep them? Well, we've got one partner that we work with, and they've had a program for about 6 years. They're kind of the grandfather of this, because this is all relatively new stuff. They've had a program for 6 years, one of the first to start in the U.S., and they've got retention at 94%.
Oh, wow.
So it's the envy of any company out there, right?
Yeah.
If you could have, so you talk about workers that perform better and retention of 94%, why wouldn't you hire these folks?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So Potentia, what we end up doing is the recruiting piece, the traditional recruiting piece. But we also work on employer training. We work on helping them to understand, okay, how do you need to change your interview process? And these aren't major changes you need to make, but there's some tweaks that you need to make it work. So how do you change that process? How do you change how you onboard candidates, or how you manage candidates, so that you can manage those areas, again, where they may not be as strong, and let them really shine in the areas where they are.
That's an awesome thing.
Now, once you find an employer for this candidate to work, where are some of the placements that they go, mainly in what industry? Mainly tech and engineering, things like that, with their degrees that they have? Or
so the disciplines where we start are often in IT.
Okay.
Sometimes in engineering. So one of the things I've learned is that some of the most common areas where people on the spectrum get their degrees are in computer science and engineering. So those are logical places to start. And so many companies need those individuals, right? Every company needs tech workers, increasingly so, right? As the world gets more and more complex. And you know, here in Houston, engineering is huge with any company that's involved with energy or oil and gas.
Of course.
So there's a lot of potential there. So the industries are really quite broad. But when you start out, you're right. People tend to start out when they're doing a pilot program, which is what we recommend. They tend to start with folks in tech roles.
Okay.
The cool thing about it, though, is even though that's where they start, our candidates are surprising people. We see candidates that are now in marketing and HR,
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
in customer service,
Okay.
in legal. You know, so once a candidate is in a good supportive environment, feels comfortable, and gets up to
Gives them
speed.
space to branch out where they really.
Yeah, then
great.
we find that this community is as diverse as any other community. We've got estimates today say that there are probably close to 3 million adults with autism in the United States.
Wow.
And if
They all need jobs.
if 80% of them are unemployed, that's
a huge number.
That's a huge problem for society, as well as for those individuals and their families, and for business, and for everybody, really.